All right. Hi, I'm Matt with Schematical, and today with me, as always, is Dominic DeMarco. Thank you for joining, Dom.
Happy Tuesday. Glad to be here.
Happy Tuesday.
I have no coffee to show you today. I'm sorry.
Well, it's pretty late there for you, so um, well, today we were talking about something interesting I saw. So, as you know, I'm working on a video game called Tech Debt, and
I've heard of this thing.
and my AI, I don't use AI to write like the pixel art I had from a while ago. I'd already done a lot of the isometric pixel art. I did some new stuff, but you can tell I hand did it because it's got plenty of problems. But I was reading an article um, on AWS when I do my writing. I was doing some research, and they said that they had figured out a way to make it so you can have an LLM test your game. So go through and find bugs, which is great because I figured I'd do that first before sending it on to people to find the bugs. It'd be much more cost effective. It could at least find the very obvious bugs in there. And so I was hoping to have the AI play tested. And then recently, Fable came out. So I began setting up Fable to talk to through Bedrock, running on Bedrock, AWS Bedrock, to talk
Mm-hmm.
to my harness, which is not OpenClaw. Oh my gosh, Hermes. I was using Hermes there, and Dom's gone, but I'm going to keep going. Maybe he's back. Maybe not. Sorry for those of you guys on the live stream that are. Dominic, enter the studio, add to stage. Hey, I got two Dominics here.
Now my home internet is going janky, so apologies on that.
Gotta love it. So I got it up and running with Hermes, and I got this strange error saying the model returned the following error: data retention mode default is not available for this model. So I dug into it a bit more, went to the docs, and as it turns out, Anthropic basically forced AWS to collect user data and share it with them. So if I send a prompt to Bedrock, my prompt data now goes to Anthropic, and Anthropic can do whatever they want with it. Now, as you can imagine, I guess why do you think they say that they need the data for?
I mean, training, personalization, sucking up all the data in the world.
That is what I believe the real reason to be.
Hmm.
Officially, they state it's for your protection. They need to protect you from
Oh,
your own.
they need
Yeah,
to know you to protect you, of course.
right. Exactly. And AWS's safeguards aren't good enough. You got to send all that to them. So they basically, in order for AWS to have Fable, they twisted their arm enough, which is impressive because AWS is kind of a juggernaut.
Hmm.
But they got AWS to add this data retention feature, it looks like. And I can't say for certain, absolutely, this is like allegedly, hypothetically, or my hypothesis is since it seems to be only used with Anthropic models so far, that it was Anthropic that pushed him to do it.
Hmm.
So, and AWS has plenty of their own safeguards already. So it's just a little silly to me that they tried to say, hey, this isn't because we want to steal everybody's data all the time.
Well, I mean, this begs the question. The first thing I thought of when you brought this to my attention was how many end user license agreements is this going to violate? That if somebody's using this Fable 5 model for a production backend for something, you're using it for yourself, great, you can do whatever you want. But how many developers are using this model to pass their users' data through? And that's going to blow up all of those license agreements.
Yeah, I mean, the HIPAA compliance, the financial compliance stuff, all that stuff, I can't even fathom, how that's going to work. I'm constantly blown away by this, by how quickly people are just willing to just toss their data out there. So,
Hmm. So what,
and they're
what when you're setting this up, so what type of data is really being passed through to Anthropic? Like, because there's a couple of layers there. So AWS has to know something about you and it has to pass it through. And you said you were using it with Hermes, so maybe Hermes knows things about you. Give me a better idea of like how that data flows through and what they might have access to.
in theory, Hermes has a handful of text files that are living on my device in a Docker container that it knows information about me, as well as a local running database, again, running inside of a Docker container on
Hmm.
my machine. So, in theory, that's all it has. It might be broadcasting out bits to the mothership. It
Hmm.
does have the ability to make some requests. It's Doesn't ask permission as much as I'd like, but it can do tool calls to API-FI to open up a browser and click around. So, but I usually look at the logs for that one, see if it's doing that. So if it sends in that data that it's got on me that it stores locally, it sends it into as a prompt maybe. So it probably goes in there and sends all this, or it'd probably be a tool call. It would send in just a little bit of data. The model would say tool call your memory, okay, and then send that memory to me. Of course, the first prompt goes to Anthropic. The second prompt that's got my memory in there goes to Anthropic. The scope of what I said, Anthropic. The results, and if I give it positive or negative feedback, Anthropic. All of it goes back to it. So if you're saying, hey, analyze this code base, this existing code base, that code base is now completely visible to Anthropic. So,
and let's use, I mean, is Fable 5 a model you would use in a production database and for your users, or is this something that's more of a personal model? I'm not familiar with this model.
It's beefy. It's one of the, as far as I know, it's their latest and greatest coding / deep thought model. So it's not a mini model. It's something you would do for research, and theoretically it's supposed to blow every other model out of the water. They say that every time, and I'm usually disappointed by it, but I wanted to give it a shot. But this is not a lightweight model. There might be a lightweight version of it. I did not see that on Bedrock. I am not, like I said, I don't have a Claude subscription or anything like that. I don't use Anthropic. I do try and play with their models when they hit Bedrock. Bedrock seems to be much better at respecting your privacy. I mean, because they've been doing it for so long that like they would lose a lot of money if they lost public faith, versus Anthropic is kind of just a scramble, it looks like.
So if you had a service that analyzed or stored some sort of private information, be it medical, be it financial, etc. So I use a service. So let's not say you're the service. I'm using a service that has some sort of financial or medical data on me. And if they plumb the Fable 5 model into the back end, hypothetically, all that information could be passed through to Anthropic then. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, via Bedrock, it would be. If you went straight to Anthropic, obviously they're recording all that and storing all that stuff. So
interesting. Yeah. Scary, interesting.
Yeah. Again, I'm not a lawyer, people. This is just what I've observed and the interfaces and the options I've been given. So allegedly. I'm
also curious. You know, unrelated to Fable 5, using an AI model, an LLM, whatever sort of model you're using, to do automated game testing. Now, I see how I could quickly learn how to play, let's say, Tetris, Pac-Man, Donkey Kong. The game of tech debt is a whole lot more complex than that.
Yeah. I think, yeah. I've seen people learn to play.
How things work and how, you know, I mean, I'd be curious to see if it could even, you know, get past level 1.
An LLM, that I would say if I expose the right interfaces to it, it could probably figure it out. A while ago, I did a writing on the food truck test. And so if you design your inputs so
I played that game. That was fun.
Yeah. Well, if you design your inputs so they're valid for the LLM, you know, so you can condense this visual space into a very simplified model. I believe that would be possible. When I use Unity's MCP, it queries every game object, and some of the game object, I mean, a game object is like a text bubble or a particle. It's like a little, you know, just a little, when a confetti explodes on the screen or something, one of those confetti things is a game object. So when it uses that, it is garbage. It is it's so lost. I think we're probably testing the limits of the context I can feed it. The example I saw was somehow they used a plugin that would stream the game via socket to and it was originally designed for testing, but they were able to have LLMs consume it. So you'd have like an automated test for your game that would you know, make sure if you click on this then that X happens and all that. And so I don't know how streamlined that is, but basically the interface and all that's designed for a human currently. I believe if we expose an MCP or a tool call to it somehow, it could play. I would think so. And I would think that would be for most games. How effective? That's another question. Mine's a relatively simplistic game. A game like Mario that requires fast-paced stuff, I would think it'd actually be worse at an LLM specifically. Now, you could use a different type of neural net, like the genetic algorithm type stuff I used to do a long time ago, and those can trigger much faster. So if you had a custom trained kind of classifier, you could easily do that, because those would be much faster, and the inputs would be what's available on the screen, and the outputs would be the buttons, and that's it. So you could cycle through that a lot faster than LLM, which is, it's just be wasteful. So don't get me going on that one. I can go down that rabbit hole quite a bit.
Well, I'm going to take one more step down that rabbit hole then, since you've already got your foot on the banana peel. You used to play with neural networks a decade ago when nobody knew what the heck this stuff was, and you were having them do Minecraft.
2017 was my first video.
What would one of these new, dramatically improved, much more technologically advanced models do in that same scenario? Do you think it just would crush Minecraft, or would it be much the same?
That's a tough one to say. You want to talk about an open-ended game. Minecraft would be, one of the most difficult ones to do. Let's take a step back to Super Mario. Yes, Super Mario, it does pretty well. Flappy Bird, things like that, it crushes. I'll take it. StarCraft is notorious for them training neural networks to play StarCraft and things like that. Now, StarCraft is a fairly complex strategy game. It's not a just run forward and die. So they have managed to train it quite a bit. Actually, John Carmack, one of the original creators of Doom, was working on trying to make one that was generically intelligent enough. So if you put the StarCraft AI model in Mario, it'd die. Wouldn't have a clue. So right now the models are all super specialized, or they're just really clunky shoehorns of LLMs in. Because I've seen also people put LLMs into definitely Minecraft, but into other games like Skyrim and things like that. So the LLM would be fed a very simplified version of the world and what's happening around it, and it would make a very simplified request back that then human written code would then carry out. So it'd say, hey, you're being attacked by Dragon X. And then it would say, okay, attack Dragon X. Well, then the targeting and the jumping and the aiming and all that stuff would be done by computer code, not by the LLM. It wouldn't say aim at X, Y, Z and take 3 steps back and load up an arrow. It would say, attack with arrow or something like that. So
it seems like these models are only good for, specific things. So I've been paying close attention to what's happening in the world of AI, drones, and warfare. So, it used to be you flew a drone FPV and you always had to have a connection. Now they have these drones that you can't jam them electronically. You can't stuff their data networks because they're reading the topography of the ground to figure out if they're in the right place. But then when they get near their destination, they can identify their target based upon the family of targets that they've been told to look for and the values of those different targets as well. I mean, you can hit a Jeep or you can hit an airplane, and they've got different values based upon what this drone gets to in the AI, looking at it within the boundary of its attack zone, essentially.
Right. And I could hypothesize on that is not, what do they call these multimodal kind of LLM type creations here? It's there.
Well, those are LLM though, or is it neural network? Or is it something totally different? Because I don't think LLM is the right box.
That's what I'm saying. It's not an LLM. I don't believe it to be that, or even one of these multimodal embedding ones where you can feed it images. I would assume, and this is me making some assumptions, that they probably fine-tuned some models that are using Q learning. So self-driving cars, right? We record every inch of the road you drive and the decisions you make. So we can train an LLM. No, I almost said it. Not an LLM, but a model that would take in the current image states, the current car states, that it's all the input it's got access to, and then say, step on the gas 20% and turn right by 3 degrees. And you re-tick that thing. Basically, you refeed it information as fast as you could. On a drone, I don't know how fast you could do it, but I assume on a car, they could slap some beefy enough GPUs. But the idea is that it doesn't have any concept of what Dostoevsky is or any of the other stuff that the LLMs and multimodals have. It knows one thing very, very well. And so it
Yes.
could just take in a very small set of data. My assumption is 4 to 8 cameras inputs. So they put that feed in there, probably have some memory transformers. So it has some concept of what just happened, you know, where its destination is, what its target is. And I'm talking about self-driving cars. For drones, a little more complex. GPS location.
Well, GPS is jammed, so you don't even have GPS location. So it likely in that case is probably multiple models. It's one model that's going to get it to the destination by reading the topography of the land beneath it. It's another model that's going to choose the target to when it gets there.
That could be 2 separate architectures. Yeah, I could see that. I wonder if that would have an effect on performance. Yeah, you could have one that's just for, is there danger around? Yes, no, and it highlights the area. And it's another one for where's the target at, and another one for navigation. It's possible. I could see both architectures being valid. You just want to make sure that it's performant, you know, because if it takes a quarter second to refresh, you know, thing could easily slam. It's not going to win a dogfight that way, likely, you know. So you need something that's going, I'm going to say, you know, cycling at 60 to 120 times per second. I surmise, again, I never designed a drone to attack, but I do know from the neural nets that I have designed that if you don't, you know, the longer it takes them to tick in a real-time environment like Minecraft or the other environments I've whipped up for them, the more likely they are to walk off a ledge because they've gone too far. So
So Anthropic's taking data. That's where all this started.
Yeah. Well, just another random topic. You hear about the Apple OpenAI conundrum?
No, I've heard nothing.
So allegedly, some of the people that were high up in Apple left Apple, and I guess that's not allegedly, and then ended up working at OpenAI, and then allegedly published, trying to harvest more talent from Apple, some paperwork, a pamphlet or something that explained how not to get the instant boot. You know, say you say I'm quitting. Sometimes security will walk you right out of the building, and sometimes you get a 2-week leeway there. Well, they're one, telling you how not to get the instant boot, and 2, they were encouraging the applicants from Apple going to the OpenAI technical interviews to bring samples of their work at Apple. And so they've announced.
So this is corporate espionage out in the open, then, or at least, I mean, this is the sanctioning of corporate espionage.
Allegedly.
Yeah,
it would appear so. OpenAI announced something that looks a lot like an Alexa, but it's definitely multimodal AI first. It looks big if I see it right. And evidently Apple was considering building something like that. So, you know, I'm curious about that one. I don't know. People always,
in this age of unenforceable NDAs, there's just so much specialized knowledge that it's going to go to the highest bidder. And you're going to see people bouncing around.
Yeah, I think it'll get, let's see. The rate of change is accelerating, which makes me think volatility, you know, when you start, you know, every explosion starts with just a little flick, and then, you know, more and more little molecules bounce off each other until pop. And I wonder if that's what we're looking at here, or on the alternative, maybe, you know, the big tech guys will be able to stay ahead of it, on top of it, and then the rest of us will be left in the dust. So I just hope that our humble overlords will.
Well, no, there's gonna be universal basic income for all of us. So thus they say.
I've heard that theory.
No, there won't.
Yeah. So, man, there was one other thing I was going to say on that one, but I lost it. Yeah. Well, I was just having a conversation with a colleague. I told you about that, but we don't need to say his name on air. And it's, you know, basically, it's, if you're a programmer right now and your whole identity is I sling code, you know, you might get left in the dust pretty quickly. If you are an entrepreneur and your identity is I invent new things, I solve new problems, I, you know, adapt all that stuff, then you've got a shot at it. And that's when I think internally to myself, it's like, I try not to be, okay, DevOps, okay, no, my main thing is I'm an entrepreneur. So whatever the world throws at me, I will come up, with I'll keep looking until I find a product to sell that market or a service to fit that market. And I think you and I both, because we have a lot of conversations off air, kind of agree on that one.
Well, it's you're now seeing articles about people that laid off all the developers are saying, bring them back, or the cost of the tokens that you're using in AI have increased to such a point and you've gotten 5% efficiency gain. There's zero net gain in that at this point for a lot of these. Now, I've been saying this for a long time, and I hope to be proven wrong at some point in the distant future. Use it for scaffolding. Use it for doing things. If you can tell the exact process that you're looking for, fine. But there is still in my mind no way that you can just tell I'll just say model, to build a game like Tech Debt. Because by the time you've written enough pseudocode or tests or other instructions on how to lay this out or build it or test it, you may have well just written the damn code by that point.
Fair enough. Yeah. No, the question becomes a question of when, these big promises of AI replacing everybody, will they be able to do that at the cost that they say they can before with the
level you expect them to do it at,
with the quality,
level of competence you were looking for?
Will they do that before the economical game of musical chairs runs out and the money stops flowing like it is, because people can only invest without ROI for so long, and then mind you, it's going along a lot further than I thought, but
yeah, we have not arrived at Space Odyssey's hell yet.
Nope, not quite. I tried Grok. I just was playing around. I'm not a big X user or anything like that. Obviously, if you go to my account, you'll see that. But I asked it how many. I was using the voice one to see, and I said, how many R's in strawberry? And they got it wrong. I'm like, wow, I thought we were past this. Okay, we're still here, aren't we? So, yeah, I think I'll end with that. Then
you should have, put a cherry on top. No, it's the strawberry. Sorry, didn't work there. I thought I had something, but no, it's no good.
Are you still doing better than Grok, evidently? Well, just to anybody listening, as I said, me and Dom are entrepreneurs, and we do occasionally start businesses, and we always look to partner with people that complement our strengths and complement their weaknesses and vice versa. So if any of you out there are building or want to build products that need technical help, we're pretty darn good at this. We've been doing, as Dom pointed out, I've been building NeuroNet since 2017. Oh, yeah, that was my first video, so probably a little earlier than that. So you're right, about a decade I've been dabbling in this. So, but man, we definitely use someone that knows the marketing side of things, and love to partner with you. So you can find more of what we do at schematical.com, and find us on LinkedIn. Other than that, anything else, Dom?
That's all I got. Have a good day, all.
All right, have a great day, everybody. Did I miss anybody in the comments this time? Because last time
I got nothing. I've been keeping an eye on it.
All right. Well, have a great day.